Championship football is back, ladies and gentlemen, and in today's video we're going to be building my team, and you've also got the opportunity to go ahead and join in on the fun. Join my league. We've got a league running for everyone that's subscribed to the YouTube channel. We've got a separate one for the people over at Patreon as well, which you can get involved in for just £2 a month. Plenty of fun is to be had over on the Championship Fantasy Football game. Shout out to Daniel Ashby, who went ahead and won the league last season, won both the Patreon and main YouTube league. So I'll leave a link in the top line of the description down below to Gaffer. That's the site we're going to be talking about in today's video, and I'll also leave the league code to go ahead and join the Ben HD YouTube League. So I'm sure that everyone knows how fantasy football works by now, and Gaffer is quite handy actually for seeing the starting fixtures of each club, and you can go ahead and work out who has the easier fixtures at the start of the season, and from that you can sort of gauge which players you want to go ahead and slot into your sides. I'd like to know from you guys down below who's one player from your club who you're absolutely going to be putting in to your fantasy sides. But as we can see here, we've got the general level of fixtures of each championship club for the first 10 game weeks, which we are going to be taking into consideration. Over on the game though, this is where things get interesting. You get a budget of 100 million, and from that you have to go ahead and formulate your team, your starting 11 and substitutes, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing in today's video. So I have already put together a rough sort of draft. I'm going to be talking you through it in today's video, but this one is very much subject to change, and you guys I'm sure can let me know in the comments down below any players that I'm personally missing out on. Now, as much as I'd love to go for one of these high-end goalkeepers who I'm sure will absolutely smash it, I have put a little bit more money into my team further up the pitch. So in terms of some decent deals for the price they come in at, my starting goalkeeper, I think I'm going to go for Simon Moore at Coventry. Really solid performer there last season, and with the way that Coventry set up, I would envisage quite a few clean sheets to come throughout the season. As my backup option to him, I was then looking at a few of the 4.5s who are going to be playing week in, week out. And in the end, I think I'm settled on Grimshaw from Blackpool. Had a really good second half of last season, up until he got injured, but consistent shot stopper. Under Critchley, Blackpool were quite defensively sound. Whether that will be the same under Appleton, time will tell, but he'll be my backup goalkeeper for when Coventry have a tough fixture or something like that. And as a pairing, I think those two complement each other quite well. Moving on over to my defensive options, this is where I have gone a little bit more expensive. First defender coming in is Isaiah Jones. Middlesbrough, and the way they're going to set up this season under Chris Wilder, having their wing backs bombing on. We saw how good Jones was in that position last season, and I think he's only going to go on and get better this time around. And someone who I'm also going to go ahead and throw in there is his defensive partner, Ryan Giles. Really excited about this addition. A player as good as Giles down that left hand side with a manager like Chris Wilder, I think could absolutely be gold dust. Now, Middlesbrough still in need of another striker or two as of recording right now to go ahead and convert some of the crosses that I'm sure Giles is going to be putting in throughout the season. But yeah, I'm quite confident on those two at this point in time. I think they do have a pretty tough fixture to start the season with West Brom, but that's not going to put me off. I'm quite happy with seeing those two out for the majority of the season, should they not pick up an injury. Giles especially, I think, could be an assist machine. The next player coming into my team, I am going to go for another premium one. I am going to go for Max Aarons. In terms of an advanced fullback who's going to be getting into those attacking positions, has that quality, proven so in the Championship. And I am expecting Norwich to keep quite a few clean sheets throughout the season as well, so I'd say that he's a fairly safe pick. And after that point, I did want to save a little bit of money, but I didn't want to completely cheap out on the rest of my defenders, so I've stuck around about the 5 million mark. Be interested to know from you guys what value you see in some of the cheaper defenders. But Kane Wilson from Bristol City, really excited about him this season. I know that Bristol City had a pretty woeful defensive record last time around, but in terms of potential attacking returns, Kane Wilson could come in with that, and he's probably going to be on my bench to start out the season with. And to complement him, I'm going to go for Perry and G to go ahead and complete my back line. Leaves me with 61.5 million for the rest of my squad, but Perry and G, quite like the look of him last season. A bit of a utility player, happy to play on that right hand side as a wing back, fullback or a right-sided centre-half, and for that utility I'd expect him to get plenty of minutes for Cardiff this season as well. But yeah, that is my back line right there. I'd say that these three especially will be starters throughout the season for me, obviously dependent on injuries and form and things like that, but fairly happy with that back line. Into midfield we go next, and this is where things do start to get quite expensive. As we can see, the general prices of players from this point onwards does seriously take a hike upwards, and I am going to go for one of the most expensive players in the league. I am going to go for Jed Wallace, coming in at 10.5 million. Now, I do have my logic behind that. If something was to happen to Jed Wallace, pick up an injury or loses his form or anything like that, it's very easy to go ahead and downgrade from that point onwards. You know, only Sarr's more expensive than him, and his future is currently somewhat up in the air with Watford, so I've avoided him for the time being. Jed Wallace, absolute assist machine at Millwall, going into that West Brom squad with the added quality that they've got in that side. I think he could take his game to another level with that side. The other argument for a West Brom midfielder is John Swift, and he is coming in at $1 million cheaper at 9.5, and I do see the logic behind going for John Swift, but potentially being more injury prone, playing a little bit further back than Wallace. I think at 10.5 I'm happy to go all out for a player like Wallace, and if I needed to, I could easily downgrade to Swift, which I'll no doubt be happy to do at some points of the season. Next up into midfield, I'm also going to go for one of the most expensive. I'm going to go for Scott Twine at Burnley, coming in at 8 million. I am quite excited about what Burnley could look like going into this next season under the management of Vincent Kompany. Twine absolutely smashed it last season at MK Dons from a goal involvement point of view. Goals, assists, we'll wait and see what his final role is for Burnley, but I'd expect him to be right up there in the final third, involved with everything that Burnley are doing going forward, and I think at 8 million, that's a reasonable price for him. I'm then going to go ahead and complete my Middlesbrough trio with my third Borough player coming in. I'm going to go for Riley McGree. I've got a good feeling about him this season. In the glimpses that I saw of him last season at Borough when he was fit, I thought he looked really quite promising actually, and if he is pushed a little bit further up the pitch, potentially in that number 10 role, I think we could see quite a few goal involvements from him this season. I've also seen some of Chris Wilder's comments throughout pre-season as well. He's very much been talking up McGree's chances of how much he's actually going to be an important player for Borough this season, so someone to be in and out of that midfield, I quite like him at 6 million, potentially a bit of a bargain. And there's a little bit cheaper than him, I've then gone for Elliot Embleton of Sunderland. Quite like the look of him for 5.5 million as well. Not putting loads of pressure on him performing from the off. He's probably going to be on my bench for the first few game weeks of the season, but to have him in and around the squad, he's one of the players I'm probably most excited to see from this Sunderland squad jumping up to the Championship this time around, because in the games that I have seen him play, I think he's got serious quality and that ability to go ahead and step up to Championship level, and there could be a few goal involvements from him as well. And then because of the strikers that I want to go ahead and fit into my team, I have had to cheap out on my last midfielder somewhat. I've had to go around about that 5 million price point, and for me, looking at all the 5 million midfielders at this point in time, I don't see anyone who's got unbelievable value. If I am missing a bargain with any of these players coming in at 5 million, then do let me know in the comments down below. As that's the case, I'm going for someone that I know. I'm going to stick Brad Potts in there. He's going to be on my bench. He's probably not going to play all too much, but while North End haven't signed a right wing back, Potts is almost nailed on that right hand side unless Alan Brown's moved out there. He has the potential to pick up an assist here or there, but he's probably not going to get off my bench, and come the start of the season I probably will have moved that one around to another 5 million midfielder. But that right there will go ahead and cap off my midfield. Hell of a lot of the funds are going into Jed Wallace and Scott Twine, but I'm happy for them to be starters week in, week out for me. So we've then got 26.5 million to go ahead and splash on the forward. So I have left quite a bit of my budget for my forward three, and when you see how much the forwards are coming in at, I think that's only wise to go ahead and do, really. So we've got 4 strikers coming in at the 10 million plus price bracket. We got Ben Brereton, Carlin Grant, Dennis from Watford. Will he stay? Will he go? Could be a decent player at 11 million, but I think he's going to be on everyone's teams. Timu Pukki going straight into the side. He is the most expensive player on the game, coming in at 11.5 million. I do take the point that he's no longer got his partner in crime, who he's had in the last few seasons in the Championship, to create chances for him in Emi Buendia, but I'm still expecting Pukki to be right up there in terms of the Golden Boot race, and I think you'd be foolish maybe to be without Pukki at this point in time. So yeah, Pukki straight in. That leaves me with 15 million to go ahead and configure the rest of my forwards. Now, for my next one, I was a little bit split between the Swansea forwards. Joel Perot's coming in at 8.5 million, but I'd argue that maybe a little bit more value for money could be Obafemi coming in at 7.5 million. As we saw in the second half of last season, Obafemi was the player who was playing that more advanced role, and Perot was a bit happier to sort of drop in, which did see him getting more assists as well as the goals that he was still chipping in with. You know, Perot's more than capable of scoring a banger from an unlikely angle, but I just think that if it will be Obafemi more likely to lead the line, dare I say it, I think Obafemi may get more goals this season than Joel Perot, but time will tell on this one. I'm sure they'll both be right up there in that sort of like 15 goals plus bracket. But yeah, if Obafemi stays fit this season, I'm quite high on his chances doing well. Really like the look of him in the second half of last season. We've then got 7.5 million to go ahead and splash on another forward. I was between a few for this one. Semenyo, although I think he's injured at the moment. Lucas João, always value for money when he stays fit as well. But I've got to go ahead and back my boy. Emile Reece is coming in to complete my side. In terms of fixtures at the start of the season, on paper, North End have a decent sort of opening 4 or so games of the season, and while we've not brought in any attacking reinforcements, absolutely everything is going to be funneled through Emile Reece when it comes to pressure and attacks going forward. The general makeup of our pre-season so far as well, Ryan Lowe has been a bit more keen to get us pushed up the pitch. You know, our wing backs playing a little bit higher, and you'd imagine that that would lead to a few more goal involvements from Emile Reece as well. So at 7.5 million, I'm quite happy to go ahead and own him on that price point, really. But that right there is how my first draft is looking for my fantasy football team. I want to get your guys' thoughts on it down below. Who do you like? Who do you not like? Am I missing any players from your club who you think absolutely have to be in my team? Let me know down below. In terms of my lineup for my first game week of the season, I think that this is what I'm considering going with at this point in time. It's a bit of a 50-50 between Simon Moore playing Sunderland away and Grimshaw playing Reading at home. Maybe Reading at home's the easier fixture for Blackpool in that one, so I might throw him in. But yeah, pretty content with my back four. I've left Perry and G on the bench for this one, as Cardiff have Norwich at home on the first game week of the season. But Obafemi, I think I'm going to go with captain. Rotherham away, Pookie as my vice-captain, Emile Reece as my emergency captain. But that right there is what I'm currently rocking with in fantasy football. I'd like to know if you guys can do any better, and you can go ahead and put your money where your mouth is. Join the Ben HD Fantasy Football League this season, and we'll see who comes out on top come the end of the year. There we have it though, guys. That will wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Like I said before, all the details to go ahead and join the Fantasy League are in the description down below. Make sure you go ahead and get signed up, and do tweet me your teams. I'm interested to see what you guys will be rocking with for the upcoming season. But that will wrap it up for today's video, guys. Do leave a like and subscribe if you are new around here. Championship predictions right around the corner, so make sure to go ahead and stay tuned for those. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.